Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for bringing your beautiful energy and light to this reading video. If you do want to manifest a more specific message from the reading, then I do recommend liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as liking and subscribing are forms of energy transfer that do tend to allow me to pick up more easily on your energy and channel more specifically for you and your situation. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know in the comments how you've been feeling. I have many different messages that have actually been coming through just in the last 24 hours. I haven't even really had a chance to write these down, so you guys know sometimes I will journal these insights as they come through, but this time, since I didn't get a chance to do that, I will be going on memory, which I believe everything happens for a reason. So maybe there is something to be said for the interim of time between receiving these downloads and actually sharing them. That is a significant processing period here. And the reason I'm sharing that is I feel this may be a message in itself for someone. So you actually may get some kind of a thought, an idea. There may be something that kind of strikes you mentally, emotionally in some way that you aren't necessarily meant to act on right away, where it's almost like your intuition is telling you to allow some kind of processing period, some period of time where you will be kind of sitting with the energy of that thoughts, of that idea, of whatever that is. And I'm hearing that processing period actually transforms whatever the initial idea was into something that's more in alignment. I'm hearing shaving off the edges. I'm almost seeing this like puzzle piece that's being perfectly formed in order to fit perfectly into this space in your life that is exactly the shape of that puzzle piece. I know this is kind of a strange comparison, but it's almost like that processing period is the time period in which that puzzle piece is shaved down to be able to perfectly fit some kind of space in your life in a very unique kind of way. And if we don't allow that period of time in this instance, or if we solidify something or lock something in too quickly or take action too prematurely, it's almost like something here isn't ripe. I'm literally seeing a banana that's like needing to ripen. I was also getting something about the color red. So red can resonate with fire energy. Maybe someone has fire sign energy in their birth chart. Red can also connect with root chakra energy. So I'm hearing needing to stabilize and not knowing why. This is another message that's been coming through here, which is for someone listening, and I got the word earthquake. It's almost like you felt this energetic earthquake that doesn't necessarily feel connected to anything that's happened physically or literally. The sense I'm getting from this message is it's almost like you feel like you've gone through some kind of traumatic event recently, or like something has happened because of how your nervous system is responding. And yet from conscious memory, that event didn't occur, at least not recently. I hope this is making sense, but it's almost like your body and your mind reacting to something. And for some reason, I kept specifically getting like body twitches or eye twitches. Like it almost feels like I'm also hearing shoulder tension. It's like your body is manifesting symptoms of being under severe stress, but you may just be kind of sitting and meditating, or you may just be mostly relaxing or napping or taking a lot of time kind of hermiting to yourself. And so it could be confusing as to why you are feeling these symptoms as though you've gone through some kind of stressful event when those symptoms have no known trigger in the physical realm. And I'm getting it's because I keep getting the words invisible battle. Like there's something invisible that you are processing, and this really feels like a collective energy. This doesn't feel so much like an individualized energy, but I feel like you are processing something, and it's like this energetic earthquake that you are resettling yourself after experiencing. But from an external perspective, no one would even know that you had gone through this because it's all happening in the quantum realm or the energetic realm. So, of course, I'm not a doctor or medical professional, and I always recommend seeing a doctor if you do have any concerning physical symptoms or anything like that. But the sense I'm getting here is someone who's just feeling a lot of physical tension or signs of stress without a known trigger. Now, this could be something as small, well, not as small, but as seemingly innocuous as needing to sleep more or changes in eating patterns. I'm also hearing stomach pain could be associated with this, or stomach tension as well. Bodily tension in general. So what can I channel? This actually may be related to that color red that I was getting, like that need to really allow yourself to stabilize, even if there is no known trigger for why you are needing to stabilize. I'm hearing that you are shifting into this era where I saw like long blonde hair and braids for some reason. Also got the name Dolly. But I'm also seeing like a literal doll with blonde hair here. So let me know if any of that connects. But the message coming through is you are entering this phase of your life and of your spiritual journey. I say entering, but I feel you've been here for quite some time. But it's almost like there's this internal struggle here. The mind is fighting something here, or has been. There's been kind of this back and forth where you get into these kinds of phases where your body is calling for something that your mind doesn't understand, or that your mind can't find a known cause for. And so you are shifting into this era where it's becoming so important to be incredibly in tune with those signals of your physical body and to respond to them, even if you can't consciously understand them or label them or find a cause for them or compartmentalize them in some way. There's this need, and also that word compartmentalize is coming out really strong. Like, we are shifting from a phase where life was once much more compartmentalized. And I know the definition of that word in general terms, but sometimes when I actually look up these definitions, I find very specific wordings that are really resonant. So I'm going to look up that word now. Divide into sections or categories. To separate something into parts and to not allow those parts to mix together. Okay, so I'm getting that for a while, this is how we were living, very compartmentalized. This is more of a 3D sort of based mentality. In the past, we were able to really separate out. I saw a deer in my mind's eye for some reason. I'm going to look up that meaning as well, but I will continue speaking here because in the past, we were able to actually really separate different areas of our lives. And so, for example, we could have a specific limiting belief system around money and maybe a scarcity mindset of some kind, but we could kind of siphon off that section of our lives. And it wouldn't necessarily affect the way that we perceive ourselves in love, the way that we feel about ourselves generally. It wouldn't affect how we feel physically, these kinds of things. You can take any area and do this in the same way. For example, maybe we've really struggled in love and struggled to feel worthy of love, just generally. In the past, we were able to really section that off. So yes, we might feel that way when it comes to our love life, but we could still be super successful in our work, in our career, in other areas of our life. We could really thrive and feel amazing. There's just kind of this one, I'm seeing a box in an attic, like that little compartmentalized area of our life that we're holding on to negative belief systems about, but we could kind of shove it into a corner and live around it. I'm seeing this kind of like, and I've used this metaphor before on the channel, but I really love it. And it's like living in a house where you put things in certain rooms or in certain closets and you lock the door and throw away the key, and that could be kind of like these compartmentalized limiting belief systems, different areas of our life where you can kind of live around it. In this house metaphor, you could choose to just never open those doors. But the thing is, you'd never be fully living in and experiencing the whole house, and you are the house in this metaphor. And the universe wants you to experience your full self in your entirety. And it's like everything that's been put into a box or a closet or shoved away into some hidden attic of our being is being thrown open. It's being almost like forced to breathe, forced to see the light, because we are meant to be clearing out. I'm hearing spring cleaning. Maybe someone's doing some spring cleaning or decluttering or getting organized generally, but I'm getting this sense that we are cleaning out all of those boxes, all of those corners of this house that really is our beautiful, spiritual, magnificent self here on this physical earth plane. And while this might seem tedious, and this may even seem overwhelming, because it may have been easier to live around these old limiting belief systems, these old things that we could put in corners. The thing is, the way that we are being pushed to experience and to share all of ourselves and to be this moving, breathing, living, harmonious, comprehensive, multifaceted, multidimensional expression of ourselves, this is allowing us to experience life in a whole new way. This is fifth dimensional living. This is us expressing our fully multidimensional nature. And in the process of this, I'm hearing that in the process of this kind of spiritual spring cleaning, you've been, or you will be, depending on where you are in this journey, uncovering parts of yourself that you may have forgotten about, that were actually and are actually deeply significant to you. Almost like when you start going through old boxes of things and you find a shirt or something that was meaningful to you, maybe a photo album, and you completely forgot that it existed because there was so much around it that you didn't want to deal with, that you didn't want to touch. So you kind of just locked all of it away. And yes, it was tedious to let all of that breathe, to kind of sift through all of that. But in the process, you've now uncovered this thing that has actually held tremendous value to you, but that was kind of buried with everything else that you didn't know what to do with. And so it's actually a blessing in disguise that these locked doors within us are being thrown open, that we're being pushed to allow every part of ourselves to see the light and to breathe and to be incorporated into this whole being of who we are. And so I said earlier that previously on your journey, you may have been able to compartmentalize. Well, now what's happening here is we're moving from compartmentalization to holistic living. And what this means, it's also, by the way, that shift from 3D to 5D. But what this means is that if we have a lack mentality when it comes to some area of our life or a limiting belief system, we can no longer just kind of quarantine that aspect of ourselves away and thrive in all the other areas. We're going to be forced to look at it and to integrate it. I'm hearing to love the parts of ourselves that we were avoiding. Maybe that's really relevant for someone on their journey. Maybe you're being really forced to look at parts of yourself that in the past you were not fully embracing, or may have been ashamed of, or thought should be different. And you're being pushed to unconditionally love and embrace those parts of yourself in order to, I'm hearing this actually expands your aura. It expands your energy. It makes you more powerful, because someone who has opened all of those locked doors within themselves, who has brought everything unconscious into the light, meaning the light of their own consciousness, radiates an incredibly powerful and magnetic signal, because that signal is pure, because it's a signal of someone who knows fully who they are and isn't afraid to express all aspects of who they are. And I feel that is your path, that is your destiny, that is what you are coming into here. But it's not always an easy road, because it's like, because this is your destiny, because this is the kind of power that you are meant to emanate, then it follows that the universe is almost pushing these doors open, making you bring any unconsciousness into the light of your consciousness for the purpose of this integration that can then allow you to have more of a free mentality, an abundance mentality, an open mentality in all areas of your life. So I'm going to go ahead and start shuffling the cards. By the way, the deer symbolism that I looked up earlier can represent grace, beauty, peace, and gentleness. Also rebirth, growth, into connection to the supernatural. Powers of nature that are not easily subdued. I feel like that is you. I feel like you are this force of nature, and you're being called to remember that as well, especially at a time where, because of all of this that may be coming to the surface, and because of that kind of energetic shakeup that you may have gone through, which we are going to be getting into more on that as well. I know that we spoke on that briefly, but didn't really dive in. So we will be talking about that. But because of all of that that you may be going through in the so-called invisible realm, you may be doubting yourself right now. You may be going through this feeling of, I'm hearing imposter syndrome. Maybe you are dealing with that when it comes to your work or your life generally. Maybe you are struggling to really remember your own ability to do something is what I'm getting here. Whether it's your ability to heal, to face certain parts of yourself, to accomplish something, to create some kind of vision. Maybe it's something very specific, like a talent or an ability that for some reason, even though you've always had this ability, lately maybe you felt a little bit stuck or almost kind of doubting it. And so I feel like if that is you, this is your sign. You are this force of nature that is not easily subdued. I'm hearing you have something of great value, but your gift of great value can only fully express itself if you fully recognize its value within yourself. So I know this sounds really strange, but it's almost like you're dealing with this dynamic where, in order to express your highest or your next potential, your next level of potential in some area of your life, and I feel it has to do with some talent, gift, ability, dream, it's actually, you have some kind of powerful, valuable gift or ability to share with the world. Maybe it's a business idea, maybe it's something literal that you do. I'm hearing a cosmic secret, like, this sounds kind of strange, but it's almost like this isn't really the way it is. But the scene I got in my mind is like as if you were on some kind of TV show where everyone around you was in on some kind of cosmic secret, some kind of secret about you that they were waiting for you to fully discover and that you hadn't fully figured out yet within yourself. And it's almost like I don't know who this is for, but it's like everyone around you subconsciously or consciously knows that you have some gift, ability, or something of value to bring to the world. And yet some of these same people may play this role in this lifetime of instilling doubt into you, projecting fear onto you, kind of making you doubt yourself. Almost like it's this cosmic inside joke, not that you're a joke, but that it's like the whole world is just waiting for you to say, enough, I see the value of my gift and I'm going to share it with the world. So, wow, that felt like a really powerful message for someone. I hope that reached you if it was for you. But what can I share with all of the beautiful souls tuned in here? Yeah, the mind at this point, I'm hearing that Rumi quote, you are at the phase of your journey where the mind can hold you back rather than urging you forward. So it's almost like the mind served some kind of purpose here to construct something. I'm hearing to build something. Maybe you used the mind to build a vision, to build some kind of skill set, to accomplish something. And that was a very essential period of time. But now it feels as though it's about allowing that cycle of needing to use the mind to construct something in that specific way to close out so that you can enter into this new cycle, which, by the way, I feel like it's been pulling you into it for quite some time, but it's almost like just been hard to fully, well, I was going to say to wrap your mind around, but of course, as we just said, that may be because the mind isn't supposed to be so involved here with this next phase. I'm hearing this next phase is about following the feeling, being in the moment, activating your sacral chakra, creating forward, expressing all aspects of yourself, following your passion, flowing with your life, and not so much about trying to construct a plan. The scene I'm getting is like someone who's creating a plan and then kind of ripping it up or altering it and then altering it again and just kind of sitting there continuously altering it over and over again. And I'm hearing the plan has already been constructed through the mind and somehow it's already been transmitted to the universe and to your higher self through something that you did in the past. You may not have even written it down specifically, this plan, so to speak. This may not even be a literal plan, but somehow I feel like I'm hearing you are the architect and you've submitted some kind of plan to the universe through that previous phase where your mind was more involved in constructing the plan. But now your mind is meant to be getting out of the way because the plan's already being enacted in full force and it's pulling you into flow with it, into alignment with its manifestation effortlessly as you allow yourself to live in the moment, follow your highest passion, and release the need to figure out exactly how the details are going to play out in the physical realm. Yeah, we have the patience card. So I'm hearing your desires have already been transmitted. Your plan has already been transmitted and constructed. And it's going to come together, but it's going to happen in a sort of divine timing. I'm hearing as you stay in a kind of alignment or flow, this is going to come together in its own timing, but I feel timing is extremely significant here to the point where I'm getting the sense at times you felt extremely stagnant and delayed, which ironically is one of the strongest signs that you are really in alignment with divine timing in a certain area of your life. Because when you're feeling stagnant or when you're feeling delayed completely without reason, almost like you're being roadblocked by the universe, what that means is you are exactly on track and exactly on time for something that is in the making for you, that is being aligned for you. And the kind of visual I'm getting here, I know that this reading has turned out to be very filled with metaphors, very metaphoric, but the scene I'm getting is there is this road being created for you, and it's this beautiful, smooth, paved road that you just kind of glide across in your car, metaphorically. And it's like you've been on that road, and now you're at this roadblock, and suddenly it feels like the road ends. And there's a red light, but on the other side of the red light, I'm just seeing like trees and grass and no road. And so you're wondering, what's wrong with me that I've lost the road? Did I not listen to the correct directions to get here. I mean, it seemed like I was in alignment to get to this point, but what do I do now? Well, this is the universe saying, if we were still operating in that 3D mentality of force, push, control, we would have you out there kind of cutting down the trees, digging up the dirt, laying the groundwork for this road, and you would feel like you were doing so much action, you were taking so much action, and maybe from a human perspective, you'd get some level of satisfaction on that because people could look at you and say, wow, they're working really hard. But because we're operating more so now from this fifth dimensional perspective, what the universe is actually doing is saying, sit in your car. I'm hearing idle in your car a bit. And what we're going to do is we are going to prepare the road ahead of you in the perfect way. And once it's all paved and created and lined up for you and going right where you want to go, then we're going to lift the roadblock. And in that moment, your intuition will pull you forward via your sense of passion and pull an excitement in the moment in such a powerful way you won't be able to resist it, and you wouldn't want to if you could. That's the kind of green light signal you will get from your intuition once this road is ready. But until then, we're going to ask you to be sitting here at this light. And so I feel many of you are almost sitting here kind of idling at this light, feeling like you're not doing enough or taking enough action. But the thing is, that's a beautiful sign that you're actually in alignment with this higher timing, that things are being prepared ahead of you on this pathway. And again, when that road opens up to you, you will know it, you will feel it. You can look back on your life and see times where you got that green light from your intuition and you were pulled forward in such a strong, magnetic, inevitable way. And you knew how to follow that pull, and you will know how to follow that again. Don't gaslight yourself, wondering, well, am I just not good at listening to my own guidance? I got literally laughter from the spiritual realm when I said that, because it's so laughable to even think that. You've had so many examples in your life of times where you have so precisely followed your intuition, and there may be value even just in that exercise of reminding yourself of all of the times where you were in a similar position where you kind of felt unsure, but you didn't push yourself ahead into doing something when the timing didn't feel right. And then suddenly you felt that green light pull forward on something, and then you saw how beautifully and magically that seemed to work out for you. And you can apply that same mindset here. The reason it can feel so difficult at times to apply this mindset is because it's so different from people around you. It's so different from what society tells you to do, and from what the 3D portion of society places value upon, which is that kind of nitty-gritty hard work, effort, being the one digging and paving the road. But what if you don't have to? What if you can sit here in this beautiful energy? What if, and I'm going to get into this, but there's also something else you can be doing in this kind of, I don't want to call it stagnant. You're waiting on the road to open up for you, but there's something else happening there I'm going to get into. But what if you don't have to be the one to pave the road every time? What if the universe is doing that ahead of you right now so that your pathway feels even easier when you're pulled onto it? But what I was going to say as well is that this isn't just an idle time, although physically other people may judge it that way, and your own mind may judge it that way at times as well. In fact, what I'm hearing is, I don't know why I'm getting this so specifically for someone. Maybe you can let me know how this resonates, but I feel like because you are in this phase of really embracing your multifaceted nature, that while one area of your life has you feeling like you're kind of at a standstill, I feel like it's almost like you're sitting in the car, but meant to keep the car idling. Not that you yourself are idle, but that the engine is still running and ready to go when that road opens up, if that makes sense. And I'm hearing the way you keep that engine running is by continuing to flow passion, energy, creativity into what feels open to you, into a pathway that does actually feel open at this time. Not that you're going in a completely different direction, but that you're feeding positive energy into something. Now, I know that this is getting very quantum, but to give it kind of a real-time example, my guides are comparing it almost to like having two jobs, but in a spiritual sense, where it's like, maybe typically you would do certain things that right now you're feeling blocked from doing, but there are other things in your multi-dimensional, multifaceted nature of a self that you could be putting that same kind of energy into. Like, for example, and this is just a random example, but maybe you are an artist, but also a musician, and for some reason you feel really stuck when it comes to creating your next art piece, but you feel really in alignment when you're pouring energy and emotion into your music. And maybe you don't know exactly where either of those things is going, but the message I'm getting here, well, that's a major message in itself, which is we are really meant to be following the creativity, following the passion, pouring that beautiful energy into things, taking that next step forward as we feel inspired in the moment without necessarily knowing exactly how or when it's going to play out. But in this case, I'm getting almost a sense of someone being a bit resistant to allowing themselves to express two different aspects of their nature. But I'm hearing they're not so different as they appear to be. They're actually mutually beneficial in some way. So for example, maybe it's your work and then something you do as a hobby, or a business you're creating and socializing with your friends, or traveling somewhere that you want to travel and doing something in your career, whatever this is for you. I feel like there are aspects in your life where that residual echo of the way we used to live in the 3D is tempting you or trying to get you to obsess or hyperfixate on one facet or aspect of yourself at the expense of all the others, because you think that that's going to push a greater power into it and that you're going to see more physical results by doing that. And again, maybe that's how it was more so in the 3D paradigm. But what we're finding now is it's more like creating this beautiful web, using every aspect of ourselves, every facet of our being, and letting all of that come into alignment in a way that allows us to build and elevate upwards rather than just like pushing out in one obsessive, singular, hyperfixated direction at the expense of all of the others, where there's kind of a disharmony in that, if that makes sense. So I feel almost as though by pouring energy, passion, emotion into something that you feel guided to do, that maybe a completely different aspect of your being actually keeps that engine warm, keeps the engine running, and prepares you or keeps you in that place energetically where you're going to be able to just catapult forward on that road once it's paved and open to you. So I know this reading was really heavy in the quantum and really light on the actual tarot card pulling. It just sometimes works out that way. But I am going to be continuing this reading on Patreon, and perhaps we'll end up pulling some more cards there. So if you do want to join me in the extended version of the reading, the link to do so is in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. We are going to be diving deeper into the messages, channeling from your higher self, your spirit guides, as well as anyone who may be connected to you, because I keep getting the man holding a heart card. I actually just pulled it in this reading, but we got so quantum, I didn't even have time to really touch on this. But we'll talk about this in the extended reading, because I feel regardless of whether this is a masculine or feminine energy in your life, I feel someone or maybe multiple people feeling a lot of emotion towards you, being very open-hearted towards you in some sense. Maybe you've been sensing that as well. So we will get into that on Patreon, as well as whatever else wants to channel through. So again, the link to the Patreon reading is underneath the video. If you do resonate with my energy in a general sense, I invite you to subscribe, join our beautiful community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at Magnetize Yourself. Lately, I've actually been posting some more spontaneous, real-time Instagram reels and messages over there. So I would love for you to follow me on Instagram. And otherwise, I am sending you a huge amount of light and love energy today, as always. wishing you the manifestation of all of your heart's desires, but in perfect harmony with your multifaceted being, because there are so many different beautiful parts of you that deserve to see the light, is what I'm hearing, that deserve to be expressed. And I know that's going to be a major theme moving forward together on the channel. So thank you for co-creating here with me. And I will connect with you here again in Monday's reading.